21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
It's not a happenstance that we have had during the last 3 to 4 years these incredible upheavals, transformations, and indeed disruptions. These happen because our societies, all in all, have come to the point where they are so complex that there are just more and more surprises coming out of this complex system. And so if we think about the pandemic, if we think about the Russian attack and the war in Ukraine, if we think about this rise of the national populism that has shaken many countries politically, and many other, also including the technology and artificial intelligence and machine learning in particular, which is also transforming our world and the whole digitalization. All of this is happening because there has been actually tremendous exponential growth in the last 70 years. And now we have become kind of a crux of that. Where we are seeing the impact, the least of which is not climate change and global warming and environmental destruction and the destruction of the ecosystems in general. So all of this is happening because we humans have maybe unintentionally built this type of a situation. And it has both positive and negatives. The negatives obviously are that we are destroying our planet and we have too many wars. The positive is that, yes, we have invented some magnificent technologies that enable us from everything from getting out of the dull routine jobs to produce products and services for all people in this planet. The problem is, of course, that the distribution is not where it should be, and that's about the question of awareness and the consciousness. So it's like we have come to here in a very rapid fashion, and now we are wondering what to do with all of this that we have created, and that's where we stand, and we are struggling with that because we are not seeing that actually we need to go now to the next phase and understand that we are a global community finally, and there is no way back. There is no way back to the local and national communities only, even if you wish that there would be chance to go back on this kind of a golden age where we were left alone and doing our own stuff and, not bothered by the others. This is not going to come back. And besides, there are lots of these, like our not-so-friend Putin, that thinks that he can bring the Russia back to the times when it was still imperial state. And of course, all of us know that that's impossible and dangerous dream, and he's going to fail that. But because we have those guys that do not understand that we are actually in a very different state to where it was only 20, 30 or 50 years ago. We are kind of conflicting with this kind of very old images, whereas we should be really, really making use of what we have actually gathered as knowledge, information, learning, understanding, and with that build a very different kind of a global society based on collaboration and solidarity.
Yesterday I fell asleep at night. I woke up in the spaceship traveling at the speed of light.
We have actually gathered enormous amount of information, not just because of the science, but because of the technology and because of education that has brought us this level.
I'm landing on a star with little flying cars, but I feel like I already know this place.
And this is all fine, but then there is another part which we may call consciousness. And that consciousness is an interesting thing because that connects us to the future, not so much just the knowledge, but the consciousness is our device for the future. And if we don't have that consciousness, however much we have information and knowledge, we are not acting on that. The acting on your knowledge requires consciousness. And this we may not or we have. But if we don't have it, then we always kind of step back and we are not taking the best information we have available, which is what we see happening in today in a lot in a different way.
But I feel like I already know this place. It was the last time our eyes collided.
So is it for you consciousness like a glue between all of that, or how would you define it?
The consciousness, no, it's actually an individual thing, really. It is our capacity to understand how we are as a part of the whole. I mean, and I'm not talking metaphysically. I'm talking very concretely. What's happening out there in the world, and how we are a part of that in our own life. It's really the question of how are we contributing, not just the taking. Kind of learning this from the old days that all you need is to extract from yourself and try to build a kind of a good life. I don't think that that's a recipe for the future. The recipe for the future is that we get the most of the joy and happiness to our lives when we are actually contributing to the others. And for that, you need, again, awareness and a consciousness. And of course, you need a lot of knowledge and information as well. But those two things sort of combined, those two assets combined, gives us the leverage to actually to have a meaningful life and also to contribute to something positive.
Mm-hmm. So there is a difference between old industrial models that you were investigated and something other, something new. Can you share an example or two of organizations that have successfully made this transition?
Yeah, I often see this that our organizations and companies are still very much stuck to this idea that the only thing that they need to be doing is that they are focusing on the shareholders' values and bringing more value to them, and that's about it, and also getting something to their own pocket. Now, if you look at some of the companies, like my favorite example is always Patagonia, the outdoor gadget company from California. It's a representative of a company that says that, well, our mission is to do actually something about our farm relationship with our environment, and everything we do is related to that. So stating from what type of the clothes we are actually making, what happens to those clothes after the people have used them, and that they can actually bring it back to the store, and it can go to the second-hand store of the same company. And if that needs to be repaired, the company repairs that. So this is the idea of the continuity and circularity. And so when you start to do those things, people that are kind of conscious enough, they understand, okay, this company is doing something completely different to many others. And we like that. So we become sort of a loyal to that type of the company. And I think this is the type of the movement that is now raising in the corporate world, that is not just the company's mission to make profit. It is actually to contribute to society in a positive way. And if it gets profit from that, that's all fine. But that's not the primary. And if you look at the particularly the young people's values change, you can see that they actually start to take much care of that. It's probably the previous generations, let's say my generation, that often neglects that aspect. But the younger generation is much more conscious. Coming back again to this, they are conscious because their level of awareness is simply much higher. And they know that we need to change our ways, how we are doing these things in the world. So that is something really exciting for me as a futurist, that I see this change and transition happening. And the only challenge is that do we do it sort of quick enough?
Regarding that human-focused approach, let's go one meta level up and speak about the future of cities. What do you see as the key factors in creating that kind of more human-focused cities, healthy, mobile urban environments?
Yeah. So my critique towards the cities that we have built has been the following. So if you look at our cities anywhere almost in the world for the last 70 to 80 years, they have made with I would say almost like the sole purpose of being kind of a commercially alive. So the commercial aspect has been a kind of a primary, and of course there needs to be people also, but they can go and we can have a residential area, and then they can go to their work, to whatever their work is, factories or offices, and then they go back. And that's been kind of the image of the city. But now this is changing, and this is changing very rapidly. I saw that the change actually started to happen somewhere in the 1990s. There were the first sort of cities that started to design. For instance, Vienna, which is a famous city, redesigned completely its inner city by pushing out the cars, allowing some buses there. But basically, it was for a pedestrian area. That was a huge success. Then the Copenhagen made the same thing, and then the others started to follow the suit slowly but surely. And now when you look at it everywhere, Los Angeles, Sydney, also Asian cities, Singapore, all of those, they start to do the same thing because it's really a movement. And at the core is the human experience. Most of the cities are now, most of the people are now living in the cities. And there is now the realization that, it's their home. It's not just a place where they go to work, but they raise their kids, and it's their environment. And for the most part, they don't have a chance to go out in the nature in the weekend. Maybe we Finns do because we have so much of that, but that's a rarity. That's not a usual case. So you need to bring the green and the social and the human scale in the cities. And this is exactly what is happening everywhere. So there's a finally realization that that's the only way that we can make cities alive. Otherwise, they are this kind of a ghost cities where the cars are going back and forth, and in the evening there is nothing. There's no movement anywhere. And many of the American cities, by the way, have become exactly like that. And now they are changing too. But it was very, very heavy unidirectional development of the 70, 80 years where this type of the ideology was that, it's made solely for commercial purposes, and the infrastructures are everything, and infrastructures are basically for cars. And so this whole idea about the mobility was kind of built into the cars, of course, to some extent to the public traffic as well, but that was of the lesser extent. And now now the change is happening, and that is the very I would say a very, very hopeful development, because this trend that we have seen so many decades taking place about people moving from rural places to the cities, and whether we want it or not, it's going to continue. There are, of course, the economic reasons for that. Even if it's not sort of a unidirectional now, with the mobile work and with the distant work and with the e-work and all that, people have more opportunities to choose their places. So maybe quite a few of them actually want to go back to the countryside, which is also very nice. So there is some more sort of a flexibility there, but in the big scale of things, yes, people are moving more and more into the cities.
All I ever do at night, erase my words and then again I write. Ooh, 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 ooh. Drop by drop by drop, drop, drop. I feel the pool and I'm ready to dive. Ooh, 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 ooh.
In the context of cities, what is the future of traveling? So there are some assumptions that there will be less traveling than today, that people will be more oriented to those local communities where they will produce their own food, etc.
Yeah, I mean, look at the situation. It's actually quite interesting, because even now, you go and ask any company, and I'm in the board of some companies, and I see that people are simply traveling much less after the pandemic. Yes, it was the kind of a recognition at that point that things can be done differently. So this kind of a useless traveling that you go for the one meeting, you fly 3-4 hours somewhere just to have a 1 or 2 hours and then you go back. I mean, we didn't laugh at that. That was a normal before the pandemic. Now we laugh about it. Who would like to do that? I mean, it's crazy. So that is the one thing that changes. The second thing that is changing is that because of these VR and AR, so all this kind of a new intelligence and the technology, it enables maybe people to take a short visit to somewhere without actually going to the place. And that is, of course, something which we're going to see much more coming now. This is maybe the first decade when these type of technologies will be really created, because it's so much. It has the same comfort, actually, than the comfort of doing this with two of us now, in the separate countries and not doing it in the same place. And so it's this kind of I see that the principle of this, what I call the sixth way, which is the 2010 to 2050, it is really all about the resource efficiency. We really start to look how we are using our resources more efficiently, because this far, frankly speaking, we haven't really done that. We have just squander our resources in one way or another, and we haven't really had much thought about it. All we want to is just to have more and more stuff, more of this, more of that. And then they are laying on the corners and we hardly use them. I mean, even our cars, we hardly use them. The average use of the car is 2 to 3% of the 24 hours. So does that make sense, particularly in the cities? I understand people are using it in the countryside, but does that make sense in the cities? In most cases, not. Definitely not. There needs to be another way how you can, if you need that, to have access to the car and then you use it, but then you leave it and somebody else can use it. So all of this type of the intelligence that we need to be built in the system is now becoming possible, partly because of the consciousness rising, but because of the technology that we have at our disposal at this time of the history. So all of this kind of a combined, all this kind of a mobility, logistics, transportation, it's going to be changing dramatically. And we see in the beginning of that.
Stand behind the curtains, I try to get a surface. Like an arrow on its way to the sun, a bullet from
And Dubai is probably one of those cities. I mean, there are some insane YouTube videos last couple of years with amazing projects, and you have a role at the Dubai Future Academy as well.
Yeah. Dubai was a really extremely interesting experience for me. Yeah, I was working full time there for about 2 years, and it's really.
Is it hot?
It's really hot. It's really contradictory city. It's like it's so hot and dry, and of course in the winter it's beautiful. Actually, it's kind of the best that you can imagine. But then it's a very long, hot summer. But what I particularly find interesting about Dubai is really that they built this miracle of this huge metropolitan city, turn into the business hub, transportation hub, tourist hub in a matter of decades on the sand and in the village, which was there before that. And of course, they did that with the help of some oil money, but still they did that, and that was an amazing feat. I'm really astonished when I found this, and so now the problem, and that's why they partly called me there, was that, well, okay, all this is great and good, but world again is changing. First of all, there's going to be the end of the oil era. So they also need to think the region. It's not so much of the problem of Dubai, but the region that, well, where do they get their sources of income in the future if there is no demand for the oil, at least to that extent that it is being now. The secondly, is that they need to be on the forefront for combating climate change, because if it's going to continue in this type of a scale up, which all the emissions and temperatures going higher up, it's going to be mostly inhabitable in 40 to 50 years. It's a 60 degrees. Nobody can live there, and the infrastructure is kind of a melting down. It's just impossible. So all of that they face a lot of challenge. But they also want to learn, and they want to kind of rejuvenate themselves and understand what type of the role is. And what I find really interesting is that as we are moving away from this Western-centric era anyway, there's going to be much more impact on that region to the world, but of course, Asia, later on Africa, and maybe also South America, where I just came a couple of days ago. So it is like it's this area. These are the regions that are showing the future, where most of the interesting innovations will come. They're not necessarily coming here in the West. It's gonna be there because they have much more thirst for fun, much more demand, and people are ambitious there, and so. And that's always that's the tidal wave now that is going on that direction. And of course, if you want to understand something of the future, you cannot be stuck here in the West. This is not the way you can understand the future. You need to be seeing where it actually takes place and happens. And it's not definitely the West.
Crashing on the moon, calling mission control. Thought I'm getting higher, but I'm flying too low. I see the earth is spinning and I can't let go. Crashing on the moon, calling mission control.
So we have this disruption, and we have entrepreneurship, as the podcast is 21st century entrepreneurship. In the context of disruption and for entrepreneurs, any key messages regarding those topics that we have discussed?
Okay, very good. So my message to the entrepreneurs is this: look at how the world develops and where are the true needs, because I think the true entrepreneur, since the time of the Edison, Ford, all of those guys, they understood that there was something out there, was a need, and the need was that to do something easier, simpler, more fast, and bring more joy to the life and business, of course. And this is still true. This is still the true recipes.
Crashing on the moon, calling mission control. Is there anybody out there, or I'm left here all alone? I see the earth is spinning, but I still stand tall. Now the time I can see the goal.
So when I look at the needs of the world, I'm saying that, well, yes, the sustainability will be the key agenda. And that means that whether it's about harnessing these new technologies like artificial or machine learning or Internet of Things or blockchain, it's about how to build a very new level of resource efficiency, how to be much more faster, but at the same time safer. And at the same time, you don't have to put so much material inputs there. Just think about the energy. I mean, the world energy is still made 80% by fossil fuel, which is absolutely crazy. And we need to kind of swap this fast in a matter of 50, 20 years. Otherwise, there is no future for this planet. And so to do that, we need a lot of innovation there. How to be faster with developing these new wind, wave, solar, geothermal technologies, how to deliver them fast, how to have them in the gadgets so that all the gadgets will have their own energy production instead of constantly plugging in here and there. All of this is still to come. We don't have it at currently. And even all those renewables are still the beginning to be market competitive, and still they are underdogs when it comes to the energy production or even electricity production. So, and this is just one instance. Then the second, materials. I mean, look at our material world. I mean, the materials that are recycled in this world is still 9% only. 9% of all the stuff. Everything else goes to the landfills, to the waste. It's maddening. It's maddening. So we need, again, not only new innovation and technologies, but new models, actually, how we build this kind of a circularity and simply intelligent into our system. Again, the huge opportunities for entrepreneurs to come up with their fresh ideas on that and combat and overcome these very old ways. And the second is health. I mean, look at what we are drinking and eating. It's mostly rubbish. I mean, we are not keeping our health in place, and that's because, again, this is the very old way of producing kind of a cheap food with almost no nutrition for the masses, and then there's only these high-end kind of things that, okay, now I get the really nice superfood, blah blah blah. No, it's not. In the future, it will be the other way around. That the mainstream food would be the really nutritious one, and then there is only a little fraction, maybe a couple of burger places somewhere that are still offering some old stuff. But to get again to leap into that future. So imagine your future first. What is it that is you're offering, and how is it kind of placed into the future where world is going, has to be looking very different from now. And then from there, come today and think what you need to do to step 1, step 2, step 3, and so forth. And there is so much space to innovate and to kind of make a leeway for more more intelligent and rational way of producing products and also consuming and delivering them. So all of this that I've been speaking here with Martin, you can find a lot of material in my YouTube channel, which you will find very easy just by typing my name. And in the YouTube, I'm also available in Instagram and TikTok. So all of these 3 channels, I have a lot of material for you if you want to dive deeper into any of these topics and many other topics that I have mentioned in the course of this podcast.
21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.